Hey there, guys. So I got a question about how to train when work basically destroys any sort of structure you have, and leaves you feeling, drained. That was something that I came across a lot with night shift. So my best advice would be pick, say, probably one day during the week where nothing's going to interrupt you. So basically, an off day from work. Um, I'd probably focus on two main movements. So one being upper body, one being lower body. Me, I'd always revert to bench press and front squats. They're the two main lifts. In that session, just work up to not necessarily going to say a heavy single, but you know some heavy triples, or even two or three heavy sets of fives. You want that for the squats, and you want that for the bench press. Then it means the rest of the week when you come home from work, the rest of the stuff is just assistant exercise work. It's nothing that's going to require a whole lot of mental energy. Form and technique is a lot easier to master, especially with lighter exercises like overhead press, curls, tricep extensions, rows. If you're at the gym, then you can throw in leg extensions, leg curls, bit of like light leg press for higher reps. Everything that's basically going to help you progress on your two main lifts. Um, Work can obviously, drain a lot of energy. The other option you have is trying to train before work. I found for me, it didn't really work very well unless I picked just one exercise, either being bench press or squats. Um, but then again, for me, I had 13-hour shifts and an hour of travel each way, and it was night shift. So 13 hours of work plus the other 15 hours, it wasn't working well for me. So I had to put everything on an off day. And the days where I did have work, I'd do something really light. For example, 4 or 5 sets of pull-ups, supersetted with some very light front squats or lunges or push-ups, whatever I could basically do to get the volume in without it being overly taxing before my shift started. And time, I had to be conscious of that as well. So that's something to consider. Um, Eating as well for that. If you can, protein powder, high protein milk, just anything to help get the additional calories in. I found on night shift, I lost all appetite, so it was really difficult for me to eat. I could, drink liquids really easy, so I had to try and do that to keep the majority of my calories. And then the meals themselves just had to be like small, and almost snack light. For an example, I just had like roast chicken or roast beef sandwiches, just something like that where I can throw a few extra fillings in, and be able to stop and come back at any time to eat and finish off what I had to do. Um, when you have a really busy work schedule, you'll also probably find recovery is going to take a fair bit of a beating. So instead of doing, say, for instance, 5 or 6 working sets, I'd really stick to those 4 sets. If you're taking the approach of just having the one main training day for the heavy stuff, that will work quite well, because then the rest of the stuff scattered throughout the week. Keep the break times short to that, minute and a half, 2 minutes. You're going to get a lot fitter. You're going to find works a lot easier. And the assistant work, as long as you're getting the volume in, you're not too concerned, because your main lift is on a day where work's not going to interfere with it. And I use the main day to gauge my strength, because again, when it came to lockdown, one of the other jobs I had to do, I was labouring for bricklayers. So, some days I came home and I was spent. Like, I was meant to do 20 reps for certain things, and I just, I only did 10. I was cooked. So, if you have a really hard day at work, it's obviously going to affect your endurance and your rep out work quite significantly. So, with the assistant movements, as long as you're working, you're keeping that muscle tissue, ticking along, it's active, you're doing something, you're still improving your movement patterns, and that's going to have a flow on effect to your main heavy day. That's the other thing, like, a lot of technique work is going to go a very, very long way in terms of helping your main two lifts, go north. There's other things you can do. You might spend a lot of time doing prehab stuff on your off days, like anything for the rotator cuff of your shoulder, looking after some of your hip joints, working on mobility, core work, so any planks, lying twists, all that stuff is obviously going to help with your main lifts, and a lot of people neglect it. that's probably it for the time being. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, have a great day wherever you are.